Yeah, one of my fears is to see Guam get priced out of paradise, and you kind of see that trend that's happening in Hawaii. And what policies or what do you think has to happen on Guam for us to have affordable housing? And
Affordable housing is necessary to keep the workforce here, and good economy is necessary to keep the workforce here.
yeah,
And the individual level, it's probably assistance on the down payment. That would be really helpful. And I've brought out this idea of having the Guam Housing Corporation to have a set of floor plan, like super efficient floor plan, and then they can give it to locals that wants to build house. And with that, the permitting is going to be super simple because it's been used over and over. Hopefully, that's empowering locals to build their own house. So something in that line. It's not as easy as it sounds, I know, but we have to start somewhere.
Afre Guam and beyond. This is Dr. Luan Nguyen, longevity doc. So I'm here with Siska Hutapea. And normally at this part of the segment, early on, I start with the bio, list all the accomplishments and accolades of the guest. But today I'm going to do something a little bit different, a little bit more of a discovery and finding out who is Siska. And, I have a small acquaintance. We're just recently been on the board, or I recently on the St. John's board, and that's how I kind of got to know you a little bit more, but we haven't really talked in depth. So,
Yeah.
and for anyone in the financial world, I mean, I'm pretty sure you know who Cisco is, but I wanted to kind of go from the beginning. And something interesting I learned about you is, you grew up in Indonesia. So let's start from
Yes.
there. Tell me a little bit about your upbringing
Yeah.
from Indonesia.
Okay, thank you for having me here, Luan. And yeah, I was born in North Sumatra. It's just kind of like cross Strait Malacca from Singapore. And then when I was 7 years old, my family moved to Jakarta, the capital city. And so I grew up in the big city. And that's where I met my late husband. We met in college. I was a structural engineering major. There's like 5 girls and 160
Yeah.
male to choose from. So I get the fresh pick. But yeah, he was my first boyfriend. We got married in 98. And then we moved to Guam. We came here for our honeymoon actually. That was in 98. But we moved to Guam in May 99. And so this year we celebrated 25 years of Hutapeas in Guam. And we have 5 children. And unfortunately, my late husband Edward, he passed away almost 6 years ago. But he was such an awesome dad and father that his love could last a lifetime. So, but we have 5 children. And so Guam has been home for me for 25 years. That's where I come from. I did go to Australia for my master's degree in real estate.
Okay.
So I studied in Sydney.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, kind of going back to a little bit to Indonesia and like where did you get some of your influences? And it's very unusual, I guess, maybe 20 years ago or 30 years ago for a female to go into like structural engineering.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
was there a
Yeah.
certain influence that kind of pushed you that
Yeah,
way?
well, I was firstborn, and my parents, just like most Asian parents, you either become a doctor or an engineer,
Yeah.
right? So I chose to be an engineer. I was interested in electrical engineering actually, but my mom said, no, civil engineering, structural engineering is the way to go. And so, like any good firstborn, I listened to them. So I did go to structural engineering, but my dad actually owns an appraisal company in Indonesia. He was pretty good in what he did. He was like the president of Indonesian Appraisal Companies Association. And so he said, oh, why don't you go and get your master's degree in real estate in Sydney and then come and help me build the company. But when I graduated, unfortunately, it was 1997, the Asian crisis. And so I went to Singapore for a conference, and that's where I met my business partner, Nick Captain. And he offered me the job to come to Guam. So my late husband said, oh, yeah, let's go have a new life in Guam. And we don't know where Guam is. We
Yeah.
had to find it on CIA fact book, where is Guam? And so all we read about Guam is mostly about the typhoon.
Yeah.
But we came here, we went for our honeymoon for a week in Bali and then come here to Guam for another week. And we really like it. It feels like home, and it's been home since.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And now it looks like you have a company now. Is it
Yes.
Cornerstone? Can you tell me a
Yes.
little bit about Cornerstone?
Yes. So I was working with my former business partner for about 13 years, and then which is good because I just work not as a company owner because I was raising kids in the meantime. For like a good 9 years, I either have a newborn or was pregnant.
Yeah.
For the good 9 years because we have 5 children. But then after 13 years, I felt like I was ready. I wanted to have my own schedule. And so I founded the Cornerstone Valuation Guam in 2012, April. And I know in order to be good, I have to build my own database of the real estate transaction on Guam, and so that's what we did. We collected, reviewed, and published statistics on Guam real estate. We want to be the best in what we do, and so we built that database. And of course, it's not just the database because we understand factors affecting buyer's decision, seller's decision, and we've made a good network of all of the real estate players here on Guam. And so we have clients from all over the world. We have clients from Taiwan, Hong Kong, Jacksonville, wherever it is, Japan, of course, because a lot of our investors are from Korea and Japan, and Taiwan. So we have clients from all over the world. Guam is a little bit unique because in order for me to advance my designation, I have to get a professional designations, and I've always loved learning. I think if I have to cite what is my greatest strength is my love for learning. And so I think I'm the only one in this part of the world that has 6 global designation on appraisal and real estate. So I have a certified commercial investment manager. I have the highest designation on commercial appraisal, commercial appraisal review, right of way. You name it. I want it. I don't want to be growing old in this fairly isolated place and not know what the other people in the world is doing. So I attend conferences just to tickle my gray cells. So yeah.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. You get to really involve yourself or connect with different investors around the world, especially Asia.
Yes.
So, but you kind of almost just kind of really smart, where you're almost like a gatekeeper because they don't have all the information.
They don't.
So they need you to really make the most up to date, the most accurate projections if they're gonna get the return on investment and.
Yes. So yes, and also the local flavor. Not only so I have the international knowledge on the profession, but I do have the local flavor. Hey, this is it's gonna take 12 to 18 months for you to get to the groundbreaking part. You have to have enough enough cash to sustain you to a certain point so that you don't fold. So we have that local flavor. We have that local knowledge that can help our investor, even for the local one. Yeah.
And besides appraisals and helping to make sure the investor makes a sound judgment, are there any other services Cornerstone offers?
Yes, so it's mostly on real estate investment decision making. So we do feasibility study, we do cash flow analysis, we do For like smaller investor, we have we sometimes are hired on an hourly rate. Hey, I have this idea. Can you create a cash flow on this? Is it gonna make sense? We have that. We have marketability study, but it's all basically related to real estate investing. Yeah.
And so, since you have so much data and up-to-date info, like, does the government or does the U.S. Census Bureau, do they actually reference you or use you as
the government do. We provide it and we publish regularly because no one else is tracking it. We do publish the median price
of
homes in Guam. We provide, of course, input. I'm a pretty regular speaker at the Assembly of Planners Symposium. So for whatever it's worth, I put my 2 cents on the issues such as affordable housing, workers' housing, or just land in general, or planning decision. So I do provide that. Our company do contribute to the Guam annual statistics. Bureau of Statistics and Plans regularly get that input from us. So I think that's part of our public service in a way. Because no one else is doing it. Because it is tedious to collect the data, make it into a meaningful statistics. It is tedious, and it takes a lot of time. But it's important for us to know it. And as a public service, we do publish that median price. So, for example, on the last Assembly of Planners, we shared the fact what the unintended consequences of military buildup is to the real estate market in Guam. Yes, it brings in a lot of construction dollar. It brings in a lot of business privilege tax, 5% to the government. But what the unintended consequences is because the military buildup absorbed all of the construction company capabilities, the construction cost for outside the fence becomes way more expensive, and it put pressure on supply because it costs so much to build. It doesn't make economic sense for a developer to build because it costs so high, but the affordability of the people are not there. And the interest rate, increased so much compared to 2021. And so those are the things that we think Cornerstone Valuation provide to the government and public decision making as our contribution.
Yeah. So I wanted to touch back on affordable housing, and that seems to be the hot topic right now in the political talk, right, among the senators or congresswomen, because that is a big issue among the middle class, or actually everybody.
Everybody,
right?
yes.
Everybody's affected by this.
Yes.
And so what do you think has happened over the years to make it so that housing costs have gone so, exponentially up on Guam?
Yes. And you're right, it went exponentially up because ever since the start of the military buildup, the median price, except for 1 year, has grown double digit. So it's 11% increase a year, and 1 year it's 14% increase the median prices. Before the military buildup, the median price was only at 240,000, and now this year it's at 420,000. It caused primarily because of limited supply. And the limited supply is caused by the high construction costs. And the high construction costs is unfortunately the unintended consequences of the military buildup. And of course, it's compounded by the COVID pandemic, the supply chain disruption. So everything that can go wrong for a potential homeowner did go wrong, unfortunately. So with that, then what happened is with the increase in interest rate, lower affordability, higher median price, what happened is there's more renter in the market. So the past 5 years, we've seen rent increase. Like a regular, decent 2-bedroom, 2-bath used to be at $800 a month. Now it's like $1,300 a month. Because there's so many competition, there's so many renters, and the price, just have to keep increasing.
Just by demand.
But just by demand and supply, exactly. And there is a government program. GURA actually initiated this, the Low Income Housing Tax Credit Project, and it basically gives tax credit for developer to, in a simple manner. If the project is costing $40 million, the federal government give them $20 million in form of tax credit,
Yeah.
so that they could build the housing. Actually, there's one down the road from us, the Ironwood,
Onipa Road.
Onipa
Yeah,
Road, yeah. So that's an example of the low income housing tax credit. So they're able to build like really nice projects, and they rented it at a cap rent.
Yeah.
So I think like 2 bedroom there is only like $600 some.
Yeah.
So that provides like a really, at first, in the beginning of this LIHTC project, I was skeptical about it. I was like, I think the one that benefits from this is just the developer. But then I see that, kids who live there, they grow in like a really nice, safe environment,
Right.
with like nice environment, nice house, nice living, as opposed to living with like multiple family members and all the associated social costs that comes with it. So there's about I believe 1,137 unit now so far. Ironwood, Cortec are the two largest player here on the market, and each year they added about 60 to 80 units of low-income housing tax credit. But if I have, if I'm in front of a genie and it can grant me a wish to solve the affordable housing problem on Guam, it's probably to have like a either subsidy for down payment, because a lot of people can pay the rent, but they don't have money for the down payment, the young people. So subsidy on down payment, subsidy on infrastructure. A lot of locals owns land, but it doesn't have infrastructure, paved road, sewer. When you have sewer and it's R1 zone, you could build on a 465 square meter land. Instead of, if it's agricultural zone and no sewer, you have to build it on a 1,858, 4 times, quadruple the size of if it is R1 and have a sewer. So more people can build in the same size of land. Instead of just one lot, it becomes 4 lots if it's R1 and has sewer line. So that, I think that's kind of the thing that can empower the locals to build housing. And
So typically, there's a cost to build per square foot, or I think it's something like $200 or $300,
Yeah.
right? But like if you don't have the sewer lines or the power lines, how much more does that increase the cost per?
The cost is gonna be about the same, but if you don't have a road and you have to bring in the road, you have to bring in the water, you have to bring it, all adds up.
Yeah.
And it just becomes, and usually those are the costs that you have to pay cash upfront. And we that's not how it works here. Like, it's hard to find young people that have like gazillion cash on hand to get all of those come in and start building.
And going back to that tax credit system you talked about, is there a certain cap, like you have to have a certain
Yes.
several million, or can it be like a 4-house development and you can get tax credits? Like how does?
I think it had to be just like one projects.
Okay.
Yeah, it had to be just like one projects. So yeah, it had to be developed from. GIDA though do have some qualifying certificate for people who builds affordable housing. So there's that venue too, but I don't know if it's enough because of the high construction costs. I don't know if the qualifying certificate is enough to trigger a developer to build because of the high construction costs right now. But yeah, some simple measure, and I know a couple of senators already work on this, is the additional dwelling unit. the granny flats in California, they call it, right? So, like for example, your house has an extra land.
Yeah.
You could build additional dwelling units where you could either rent it or have your kids live there. When they're newlywed couple or whatever, they could live there, and you could help them with that. They could save up money hopefully and then build their own. But additional dwelling unit it's really good because it just utilizes the existing land that's already built up, and have an additional dwelling unit.
Okay. And then something I noticed recently driving on Airport Road, I've seen some of the houses on the cliffside being developed.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of project is that? Like, who owns that? Who develops that?
So I do know for sure, and I don't know if this is too much information, but it is on public. But that the owner acquired it from a former federal access land. So it was a former federal access land that got returned to the original landowner.
Yeah.
And the original landowner sold it to this party. And when they bought it, it was really cheap.
Yeah.
But I believe there's some easement issue on it, and that's why they had to leave it for a while. So I don't know, what causes the delay, but yeah, it was former federal access land.
Okay.
Yeah,
But that is pretty nice. That's probably one of the nicest views on Guam, I'd say.
probably.
There was property there that was on sale, but when I talked to real estate agents, they said you got to be careful with that. You may or may not own the land. There's a lot of provisions, so
There's a lot of
you got to be careful
yes,
investing in
and
that land. So.
yes, and that's very, very important, and that's why you got to do your due diligence when you acquire a property, because there's easement, there's provision on the deed that needs to be researched to make sure that you don't. One thing that is pretty basic, but what you buy when you buy a property is the rights. You buy the rights to use it, to occupy it, to rent it, to do things.
Yeah.
You don't actually buy the soil. You buy the rights, and some rights are restricted. I know there are some clause on the return land that if it's not used for transportational purpose, then you have to return it back to the federal government. There's those kind of clauses. There's some easement that can run through the land. So those are. When you buy real estate, you buy a bundle of rights. Yeah, and some bundle are more complete than other.
So who checks that? Like, would Cornerstone check that, or how?
When
'cause
we do the
biggest
appraisal.
fear is you buy the land and you find out the road that leads to the land is not yours.
Yes,
right?
yes.
So
And there's that case too on
Yeah.
Guam. So yeah, when we do appraisal, we would check that.
Okay.
But of course, I deal a lot with the title company. My friend Kim Young at Security Title, that's what they do. They insure title.
Okay.
So they will check if there's an easement, if the access is legal. I would say, if it's not that clear, do a survey of the land so that you know where your boundary is. Surveyor, title company, appraisal, they will check. One thing that's very unique about appraisal is that we kind of see, we read the easement documents, we look at the map, but we kind of look at it in 3D, for the lack of better word. So we see, okay, the survey says this, and the survey says you have 40-foot wide legal access, but when we inspected the property, the legal access is not developed. And so we would consider that when we do our, market value estimate. Oh, yes, you do have on paper 40-foot wide access, but that 40-foot is on a crazy topography. It's almost impossible for you to reach the land, even though we call that paper subdivision. So it looks good on the paper. It has legal access, but it's not developable sometimes. So that's what's unique about appraiser. We kind of put all of the information together and look at the property on its highest and best use. Yeah.
Okay. And kind of going back to that issue on hand, you gave a lot of factors of why prices are going up in the median household. Actually, you said about 420. Does that include condo prices or only just single
That's
family?
just single family
Okay.
dwelling. And the condo is around 320
300.
right now.
So median house is
300.
420, but yeah, I guess that's the valuation, but there's nothing on the MLS that's 420.
Well, 420 is the median. So yeah, MLS is probably only have like about 30-40% of the sale.
Yeah.
There's a lot of sales that are not on MLS, like between friends, between parties that
Yeah.
is not listed on MLS. But yeah, it's kind of, if you have something on MLS that's 500 and below, it's almost like get
Gone.
snapped
Yeah.
pretty quickly. But for young people, they could start with like condominium. When I first come to Guam in '99, we bought our first property in 2003 for $100,000, and it was 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath. Townhouse, Florapago Garden. So my late husband and I, we were staying in an apartment, Mr. All Israel apartment in Mangilaw, 2-bedroom, 2 bath. And we were like, the rent on our apartment was only $550 at the time for 2-bedroom, 2 bath. And we could rent our condo for $1,350 at the time, I think, for the military. So we were like, okay, we'll just rent it for a couple of years, build up equity. And by the time we're ready to move in, we were able to refinance, because the property, we bought it for 100, and then when we moved in, it was already like 165, and we just put all the rent into the principal, and we've already built up equity, and then with that equity we refinanced and we bought another condo. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one of my fears is to see Guam get priced out of paradise, and you kind of see that trend that's happening in Hawaii, and so I mean, even in the States, like in Vegas, when I looked in that housing costs, I mean, it seems like every house is a $500,000 now just to buy anything in that area, but and everyone's going up, but what do you think? What policies or what do you think has to happen on Guam for us to have affordable housing and so that not everyone moves out of Guam, right? Because they can't afford it.
Yeah. No, I hear you. Affordable housing is necessary to keep the workforce here, and good economy is necessary to keep the workforce here.
Yeah.
And the things that I mentioned earlier about subsidy on infrastructure to enable people to build in their land, that would be great. More sewer lines so that you can build on a smaller lot. So that's on the macro, and then on the individual level, it's probably assistance on the down payment. That would be really helpful. And I've brought out this idea of having the Guam Housing Corporation to have a set of floor plan, like super efficient floor plan. When my family and I traveled to Germany, in Monbachtal, they have this super efficient 4-bedroom house, and it's only 800 square feet. But it's so efficient. I mean, German design, right?
Yeah.
Crazy efficient. So like the bedroom are encircling this area that is like a dining room, a family room, and a living room. And a kitchen. So it's so if like say we have Guam Housing Corporation have architect design a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom houses that can be expandable as the people as life grows. And then they can give it to locals that wants to build house, And with that, the permitting is going to be super simple because it's been used over and over, hopefully. That's empowering locals to build their own house. So something in that line. It's not as easy as it sounds, I know, but we have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then when I talk to the developers, I think one of the headaches is, people wanting to even develop these days is just it takes too long to go through the whole approval process of land management and, getting through all the inspections and things like that. Do you think that could be even more efficient, or to be able to build within a year and not take 2-3 years to build just even a single house?
Yes, yes. And I know our lieutenant governor is working on the building permit
Okay.
simplification. And yeah, I think it behooves us to make the building permit simpler for owner-occupant house or even house, residential unit, any residential unit. Yeah.
Yeah.
It would really be helpful. Yeah. Streamlining the building permit issue.
Okay.
Yeah.
And to the, I guess, maybe younger viewers, or I guess even for me, I got to learn about these kind of things. But what would you say is a general formula? I mean, this number might shift these,
Sure.
but what would you say is kind of a general formula for income to, rent or mortgage
Sure,
ratio?
sure,
Yeah,
sure.
what percentage of
So
your income should?
this is something that I'm really passionate about. When I first moved to Guam, basically, basic finance is something that I'm very, very passionate about. Handling your finance well is really empowering. And of course, when I first moved to America, which is Guam here, I educate myself by subscribing to Kiplinger magazine, and I suggest everyone to do that. I learn about Roth IRA. I learn about saving for your kids' college. I learn about living below your means. I think that's simple, basic, and I learn about pay yourself first. And I think that's very, very important. And I will get to your question soon. But I think it's very important for young people to be educated. As a matter of fact, when I was president of Seroptimis International of the Marianas, I did like basic finance, the time value of money. Hey, look, if you buy that TV and they advertise it for you for like $100 a week, this is actually what you've been paying for that TV. By the time you finish paying it off, it's already obsolete.
You could have bought 2 or 3
Yes,
TVs
yes,
too.
yes. And so, but anyway, like even for my children, and I practice it personally. When my late husband and I, first moved here and we started having babies, when the baby is born, we immediately open a college savings account, education savings account, 529 plan, and we were only able to like put like $50 or whatever it is that we could afford at the time. And as you move forward, that's kind of like paying yourself first, before you spend your money to anything else. I immediately have an automatic deduction from your checking account.
Yeah.
And you don't feel it, you don't think about it, it's all there. And it really paid off because when we sent our firstborn, so after she went to college when she was 17 and a half, this is a little bit criminal for American system to have such a high tuition cost. But when we were sad and we had to let our firstborn go to college, at least we're not sad that we cannot afford to put her in college because we've already been saving ever since. Although at the time, our saving after 17 years, it's only enough for like maybe 4 semester of college because tuition is so high in America. But at least we don't have to worry about it until, later on. But we've saved. And so I did that for all of my 5 children. We tried to live below our means, and saving first. Put in your Roth IRA. When my daughter, my firstborn, got her first job, I told her to open a Roth IRA, and start saving. I think understanding basic finance to be ahead and be in control of your finance is really good. So now to answer your question, basically about 30% of your income should be only for the housing. About 30%, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for the people that are trying to decide whether to rent or purchase a home, like what would your advice be and what are the
Yeah.
things to consider?
Yes. So, one thing that we have to remember is our first home does not have to be our dream home. That's what I can see, that kind of like, what should I say? Stop people from entering the market. So just buy like a very simple condominium, 2 bedroom, 1 bath. Start with that, but at least you're already in the market and you're already accumulating equity when you pay your rent. And so instead of paying your rent, so get in early. The best equity to create, if you can, is to build by yourself. In Guam, we're very family oriented. We all know a contractor, and go to the people that Hey, start with small, even a 600 square feet, but at least you're building equity. Is what I would suggest. Don't start with a dream home with a swimming pool and 4 bedroom, whatever. Just start small and then build it up.
Yeah.
Because everything in life that is good, it's all about consistency. It's all about time, little by little, and you'll get there.
Yeah, and I think one of the things I could think of in terms of people considering a house is they only look at the mortgage, right? And that's they calculate, okay, I can afford it. But there's a lot of hidden costs to owning home ownership, right? So,
Yes.
like, is there a formula? What would your advice be? Say if your mortgage is $2,000, like what percent or how much more do you think you should be able to afford just to offset any surprise cost or
Yeah.
taxes and
Yeah. So,
upkeep and things?
I am a very, what should I say, cautious investor. It would be great. Ideally, you would have like 6 months saving, 6 months living cost saving. So, say your mortgage is 2,000, and ideally you would have $12,000 saved, just so that if you lost your job or something happened, emergency happened, you don't be in a bind. So I would really suggest that. Actually, we also, besides Kiplinger magazine, Dave Ramsey,
Ramsey.
you've heard of him,
Yeah,
I'm sure.
Yep.
Yeah, he's not into real estate debt. I kind of fear of that from him, but because I know the power of leveraging, and I know that I have to put my money where my mouth is. So I invest in real estate with leveraging. But he's other than that, he's really good in like basic personal finance. So 6 months is good to have, just so that you don't have, because like everything else in life, holding power is key. If you have the holding power, meaning like you don't have to sell, then you can sell at the right time. Everybody got in trouble when they have to sell.
Yeah.
So by having emergency savings, it will assure you. And there are still some condos that you can buy at a cheaper rate. And people say, oh, but they have to pay common area fee. Yeah, but your common area fee pays for the swimming pool maintenance, pays for the security, pays for the insurance. So, and you don't have to cut your grass. It's totally worth it. The common area fee. Of course, don't choose something that is like beyond your means.
Yeah.
But you could start small. There are still some affordable condominium around.
Yeah. kind of going, I'm curious because this is a thing that's always on my mind and for my kids. And how old is your youngest
So
child?
my youngest is 14 and my
14.
eldest is 23.
Okay.
Yeah.
So say for your 14-year-old, that's your fifth child, right?
Yes.
So you basically started a college fund since they were born,
Yes.
and uh, just out of curiosity, about how much were you putting in, and did you change that amount recently?
Of course,
Yeah.
yeah. As your life, grow, you can afford more,
Mm-hmm.
then you put more
Yeah.
into it. You put as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Because um, when I raise my kids, I try to what my dad did to us. He has 4 daughters. He paid for all of our master degree. And we didn't have to have a loan. We didn't
Right.
have to work.
Yeah.
And I think, giving education and faith is the two most important thing that you could leave to your children. Of course, as I was, living in Guam, I see how my Chamorro friend is also inheriting some land to their kids. If I can afford it, I will do it. But my priority is still the education and the faith.
Right.
The education part is something, a gift that you can give to your children that nobody can take away from them.
Right.
The education that my father gave me, the master degree that he gave me, is the gift that keeps on giving.
Right.
It's like,
It's like teaching someone how to fish in a way, where you could make your own means
totally,
and make something of it.
totally.
Right?
And
Yeah.
so that, and also, faith is important because life will throw you,
Curveballs.
curveballs. And if you have faith, you could, okay, just kind of like when my husband passed away 6 years ago. I remember vividly on the morning that I had to go to the funeral. I was so like not wanting to wake up because I don't want it to be real.
Yeah.
That's how silly my but I was in grief, so I didn't want to wake up. But then I hear my kids' voices, and then I have this in my head saying like, okay, if this tragedy is gonna come to me, I better be a model of how to dust off and rise from the ashes. I'm gonna show my kids how to deal with tragedy. I don't want this to like go to waste, and so I did. I dust off, and it's funny because we just dropped off my firstborn to college at the time. He passed away in October 15. We just dropped off Faith to Occidental College in Pasadena. And 6 weeks later, he passed away suddenly of heart attack. And I called her from the Guam Memorial Hospital emergency room, booked her ticket immediately. 6 hours later, she's on the plane back to Guam. But it's funny because on her graduation day, she told me that, Mom, if I didn't see you being so strong, I wouldn't have come back to Los Angeles. I would have just stayed here and not finished my college. And I was like, oh, wow, it worked. So, yeah.
Okay. And
I know that's deep, right?
yeah,
That's heavy.
yeah,
But,
yeah.
Life is like that. And it will throw you curveballs. I think, when you have strong faith, it's not that life is easier. It's just that you could deal with it better, I think. You could deal with it better. And like every suffering that we have is gonna make us a better person. It's kind of like I recently get into weight training.
Yeah.
And it really like instilled the necessity of pain to be good.
Right.
Like when you go to the gym, do the weight training, you like tear your muscle, you
To build stronger, but
yeah, and that's what it
right.
yeah.
And I think, yeah, and that's something what I love about weight training in the morning is oftentimes that momentary pain or suffering after you complete that, like the day becomes a lot easier because there's
Exactly.
not too many more
You
things that could
exactly
be
that.
worse, right?
You can't hurt me. Your demanding client came to you and you cannot hurt me. I've been hurt.
Yeah.
I did hip thrust 120 pound. I can take care of you.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I admire you for wow, you own a company, run a company, and you have 5 children. But I think some of the things I'm thinking about, I still have young ones, right? And the cost of tuition for college is just
Exorbitant. It's
ridiculous.
criminal.
100, 200,000,
Yeah.
ridiculous.
And my sister in Australia,
Uh-huh.
you know how much she paid for her son? Like
Yeah.
$1,000 or nothing.
Right.
Almost.
So I think maybe 20 years ago, like whatever, go to college and do whatever. But now, like, do you even sit down with your kids and be like, this is gonna be your return on investment. Choose your major wisely. Do you have that talk with them?
Of course. I'm
Okay.
Asian mom. Hello. Yes, of course.
So you do the
Yes.
analysis and like, this is probably
Yes.
your job prospects. This is probably what you're
Yeah.
gonna make.
Well, this is what I tell them. You know, you choose your lifestyle. What kind of lifestyle are you going to be settled with? Are you okay? Whatever your lifestyle you want to do. Start from there and then back out to your career choice. My son wanted to be a teacher when he was in high school because he loves math and everything. Okay, if that's the lifestyle that you want to do, then yeah, do that. Be a teacher. You know what the constraint is, you know the benefit of having a summer off. So basically, yes, that's how I approach it. So I guess I'm a what should I say? I'm what is it called when you're like healed? I'm a healed Asian mom, so I don't really want stress to them that you have to be a doctor or engineer, but you have to be able to support your lifestyle that you choose.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, you have to do that. Otherwise, it's an investment. It is an investment, and they see me working hard. My children, I'm grateful that they see me working hard, and they return the same enthusiasm, I guess,
Yeah.
as far as learning. My firstborn she graduated with biology and philosophy, and she's applying to dental school right now. And then my number 2, she's in computer science at USC. She's a senior, and she just finished her internship at Oracle in Seattle, and she got a full-time job offer from Oracle, so yay. And then my number 3 is a sophomore at USC also, and he's doing electrical engineering. I told him, why on earth would you want to do that? It's like the hardest engineering.
Yeah.
But because I look back on my engineering years and
Right.
I was like, why did I even do that? You know?
Okay.
But it teach you resilience.
Yeah.
You might not use all of the calculus that you studied,
Right.
but it teach you resilience and problem solving skill. And then my number 4 is senior at St. John, and he loves art. His brain is just like amazing as far as art. And then my youngest Hope, she's a sophomore at St. John, and she's on the national soccer team.
Oh, wow.
They just came back from China.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay.
I think, as a person, you gotta decide what is your purpose in life. And my purpose in life is to make these 5 children become a good, educated Christian, faith-based people, kind people. And with that purpose, I cannot do that if I'm not successful in what I do, because education is expensive.
Yeah.
And in order for me to be able to afford to give them the best that life can offer as far as education, I have to be successful in what I do. So that's what drives me, to be the best in what I do. And but yeah, I just recently also did yoga teacher certification in Bali,
wow.
5
Okay.
weeks. Yeah.
Nice.
So I'm a certified yoga teacher. I think it's really good.
Are you planning to hold some classes?
I
Because I'm
was
looking.
gonna, I was gonna teach this month, starting this month, but the work got busy. But I have to, I practice every day,
Okay.
just whatever minutes I have. But I practice every day. Yeah, we did Ashtanga yoga, which is like the crazy, most rigorous yoga there is. As a matter of fact, when I first joined that cohort, everyone is like 20 years old and fit and everything. And I was like, what am I getting myself into? But I did it.
But you showed them. Yeah.
I showed up and then I finished.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. That's some of my best days if I can compete with people half my age. That's a good
Oh
day
yeah.
for me.
Oh
So-
yeah.
So I wanted to go into something maybe a little bit outside your box, right? So, do you think you're able to do analysis and valuations and, we have in the US credit scores, right? China might have what they call their social credit score of trustworthiness. Do you think it's possible, like when you're, do you think it's possible to make almost like a health credit score? Like how would you go about it? And if you were to put that together, what would you say the pros and cons of that would be?
Yeah, I'm usually a very positive person, but what immediately come to mind is like everybody is different, like the body is different. What is challenging for me is not necessarily challenging for you. Like every body type are different, right?
Yeah.
But I do want to stress, the importance of taking care of your health, because I think health is wealth. Like if you don't take care, like when Edward passed away, for 2 years, I was struggling to be the mother and the father because I don't want my kids to suffer. But with that, I was trying to do a 2-person job, and Edward was a great father. He like cooked breakfast every morning, and trying to do all of that, it puts me in a very, very bad health situation. And my good friend at the time, he told me, Siska, if you're keeping doing this, you're not gonna. No one is gonna take care of these children. And I, immediately clicked to me that I do need to take care of my health. And when I first started, I have an elliptical machine at home that has been really like a hanging place for the clothes instead of a elliptical. But I started with just saying, okay, I'm gonna do 3 minutes today. And then I increase it 30 seconds. And then, before I know it, I was able to do 30 minutes. And so I guess, the health score is probably okay, but I know everybody's different. And the most important thing is just to start and then be consistent with it. And, that was like maybe 4 years ago. And I've been on a health journey, and I'm not there yet. I do boxing 3 times a week.
Yeah.
For an hour. I have a trainer. I practice my yoga. But yeah, it's as long as you're. But I think what's really good for us is to have a more structured, what should I say, public information on health, how important it is, because we take it for granted, really.
Right.
We take our body for granted, and our body is the only thing that we have.
Yeah.
Like even when I did my yoga, we take breathing for granted, and breathing, just like doing inhale and exhale in the middle of the day and releases your stress.
Yep.
That could means a lot.
That's one of the most underrated things you could do.
Breathing.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
People don't know how to breathe a lot of times, actually.
Exactly.
And breathing shallow, not getting enough oxygen.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I think that's an underrated skill,
Underrated.
actually.
Oh my God. I learned so much about breathing on that yoga retreat. Like the Wim Hof breathing.
Yeah.
Like after the Wim Hof breathing, we were, every end of the week we would go to the ice bath. The first time I was like, I cannot do this. And
Yeah.
it was so, miserable.
Yeah.
But after the Wim Hof breathing, I could stay for 3 minutes, no problem. And that's like a big accomplishment for me,
Yeah.
staying on the ice bath for
Yeah.
that long. But
Yeah.
breathing is underrated, totally. And I wanted to, I was presenting about Guam real estate market update to my lender client, and I teach them about breathing, the box breathing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
just
one
to
of my
share.
favorite, yeah,
Yeah,
exercises to do. So,
yeah,
yeah, so I mean, it's great that you have health as I guess a cornerstone of your life.
yes,
But maybe
yes.
to all the mothers, right, out there, like I consult a lot of mothers and their health might be not ideal. And sometimes I think the trouble I have in counseling with them is they the moms feel guilty
Yes,
that they have to do
I've
everything for
been
their
there.
kid, and
Yes,
so they don't want to. I mean, they want to be
they
healthy,
don't
but
want to.
they
Yeah,
don't necessarily want to take the time out for themselves or even
yeah,
give themselves 15 minutes. They feel guilty or they.
yeah.
So what would your advice or what would your comment be for that?
It's this oxygen rule in the airplane.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't put on the oxygen to yourself first, you cannot help your kids. And if you don't take care of your health, you're not going to be there to take care of your kids. So it's that important. It's the oxygen rule. You gotta take care of yourself. So I know exactly how they're feeling. I mean, I'm raising 5 children by myself and maintaining an office and doing a lot of other things. Like I'm on the board of GIDA, St. John, and whatnot,
Yeah.
because I'm passionate about those causes.
Right.
But so the way I did it, I woke up 4 o'clock in the morning, get ready to the gym, finish the gym. I went to the gym in Tumon at 5, and then for an hour or an hour and a half, and then I go home, and then I cook breakfast for the kids when I have time, when they wanted it, and then go to the office, and then just get it done first thing in the morning. And you don't have to do. Sometimes a couple of weeks ago I was doing, or a couple of months ago I was doing like an hour yoga, an hour boxing, and then an hour weight training, and then sauna. And I was like, wow, I felt like I should be a trophy wife here, because taking care of myself apparently takes 4 hours.
Yeah.
But you don't have to get to that stage. You could just do the 3 minutes elliptical, or just walk. Walk is another underrated exercise. Just walk 5 minutes, walk 15 minutes, do 10 squats, whatever. Just the little thing that you do, but do it consistently. And before you know it, you kind of like need it.
Right.
You're kind of like addicted to it.
It becomes a habit like brushing your teeth.
Yeah.
And it's a compounding thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if it's important, you will make time for it. If you don't make time for it, it's not important. And then, kind of like, you have headaches. That's kind of your body whispering to you, hey, you need to take care of me. And then you have to lay down and go to the hospital because you're really sick. That's your body hitting brick on you because you're not listening. The whispering of headaches or lethargic, you're not listening. I need help here. You need to take care of me. And you don't want to get hit by the truck by like getting really, really sick. So, and it's easier said than done. I know that because I wasn't taking care of my health before. Life gets in the way, but you just have to go back into the wagon and, try your best and spend the time to take care the most important person in your life, which is yourself. You can't be the mother that you want to be if you're not healthy.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can hike the volcano on in last Christmas. We went and hiked volcano at 1 a.m. Because we want to catch the sunrise. I was able to do that with my kids. And that's such a great feeling.
Right.
Like to be able to keep up with a 19-year-old boy, that's like, I mean, I died like 9 times on the way up, but, you know, I did it.
Right.
And it felt so good.
Right.
It's like
To experience that with your kids.
to
on
experience that with my kids, and
a
I could do
difficult
it.
journey together.
Yeah,
Right? And
yeah.
see that
See the
mountain or
sunrise,
everything
and
on
it's
the end.
just
Yeah.
amazing. The feeling is just amazing. My son, he's into rock climbing, and he took me to a rock climbing gym, and I was able to just like do the V1. They have that level, and I was just able to do the very basic climbing thing, but it makes me proud
Yeah.
because I was able to reach the top with my 19-year-old son. I mean, I'm nowhere near his strength, but I can go with him, and I can actually do things with him. So it's just
Yeah. So I think that's a very important mission, or I guess message to really end with, right? It's out of love, right? You got to take care of yourself out of love. And part of that is you have to be able to take care of yourself so that you can take care of your kids. And also, I think kids mirror parents a lot, right?
Yes,
So if
you
they
know
see
that.
yourself taking care of
Yes.
yourself
Yes.
and making that a priority and learn how to feed yourself healthy and exercise, the kids are going to mirror that too. And
Oh yeah.
I think that's a big consideration every parent should always have in mind. And
Totally. And
Right.
you're absolutely right. Kids do what we do, not what we tell them to do. That's so true. I mean, I have 5 kids. They do. And as a matter of fact, all of my kids are now gym rat. Like they go to the gym because otherwise mom would say, "Oh, you can only curl 15 pounds." We trash talk each other.
yeah, yeah. I don't think I want my mom curling more than me. So yeah. So any last messages you want before we end?
Yeah, I think, live in the present moment. Today is all you have. And, enjoy your family. I'm really big on family. Later on today, I'm going to go to Hopi's game on her volleyball game. Those are like the precious moment in life.
Yeah.
Just to enjoy it with your loved one. And yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming by.
Thank you for having me. This is fun.
All right.